This week, it's time for security money. Duh, Okta. Of course, Okta should be in the index. In the leadership and communications segment, should the CISO role be split? CISO's tips for building a culture of cybersecurity. Personal leadership and cyber risk. Top 3 traits that deliver enterprise level results, and more. Business Security Weekly starts now.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
It's the show where we explore the business of security to improve the security of business. Your trusted source for actionable insights on leadership, communication, and innovation. Get ready for Business Security Weekly. Do your end users always, and I mean always without exception, work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? I didn't think so. So my next question is, how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? 1Password has an answer to this question: Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM can't touch. Check it out at securityweekly.com/1Password. That's the number 1 password. Your customers' and employees' identities are your responsibility to keep safe. But who is helping you stay safe from identity-based threats? Identity is the key to getting security right. And with the right identity partner, so much more is possible for your business than you thought. From strengthening cybersecurity, to increasing revenue, to reducing inefficiencies and costs, Okta unlocks growth and new possibilities for its customers. Go to securityweekly.com/Okta to learn more about Okta and the company's commitment to leading the fight against identity attacks. Let's talk about something that's becoming increasingly important for enterprise companies worldwide: cyber risk management. Traditionally, cyber risk has been managed manually in silos, separate from the business's core operations. The future is about getting real-time risk insights benchmarked against your industry peers through automation. And CyberSaint's CyberStrong platform is leading the charge. CyberStrong is not just another point solution. It's a revolutionary platform. It's a quantified top-down risk approach where your unique cyber risks inform C-suite decision-making to identify your top 5 cyber risks and the controls to mitigate them. Sign up for your free cyber risk analysis by visiting securityweekly.com/CyberSaint. Welcome to Business Security Weekly. This is episode number 374, recorded December 2nd, 2024. I am your host, Matt Alderman. I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving and are currently cyber shopping their booties off. Joining me for this segment are my co-hosts. First, Mr. Jason Albuquerque.
Hey, what's going on, Matt? I didn't even realize it was Cyber Monday, so I've done zero shopping. You listen, Thanksgiving weekend full of some wonderful football, from college to NFL. My son and I actually were at the Patriots game yesterday. That was heart-wrenching loss in the last seconds. But listen, Michigan, holy Lord, what a game, huh?
Wow. Well, it depends on what's
at the end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, that, I'm a huge Buckeyes fan, and I hate that game because for some reason the coaches, Michigan's like in their heads, and they stop doing what's been working all season to try to do something else that doesn't work. Like it's so frustrating, Jason. Don't even get me started.
I bet. Yeah, and then all the drama at the end. There's lots coming out. I think each team got fined $100,000.
Oh yeah,
for the brawl that happened at the end. And all these teams are planting flags now in the middle of the. If they're away, they're planting flags in the middle of the field, and they know it's going to start something. So
it sure is
a wild ride, but it was some great football this weekend.
Yeah, big game tonight, Browns and Broncos. Not really, but it'll be interesting after the Browns actually beat the Steelers. Like, how does that happen? Anyways, so we'll see. Also joining me, Mr. Ben Carr. I know, Ben, we're not going to talk football, but you've been traveling a bit, buddy. Welcome back.
Geez, I was in Brazil last week, got home the day before Thanksgiving, and then had to drive to Thanksgiving. I'm headed to London next week. So it's just, it's been a little bit of crazy travel. Luckily, I'm not getting stuck in any of this snow that happens to be happening in the Northeast and North Central. But it's good. Glad to be home for a couple days.
Yeah, good to have you back. All right, gentlemen, we're going to dive into the security money segment. So the reason I said Okta, so Darktrace was acquired by Thoma Bravo. We knew that was coming, right? And so I was scrambling, trying to figure out who I'm going to put in the index, I realized I never put Okta in the index. Like literally, I was going through all my stuff and I'm like, duh, Okta. They've been public for a while. They would have solved a whole bunch of this other craziness. So
the faulty index. You've been running a faulty index, Matt.
Look, they're all pure play cyber still. So I still got 25 in the index. So Darktrace, acquired by Thoma Bravo, officially closed on 10/1. Replaced them with Okta, which I probably should have done a long, long time ago. Rebalance the index, etc. So it closed on November 24th, or 29th on Friday at 2481.65. It's 148.16% since inception, and it's up from last quarter. So the index recovered this quarter, and I think a lot of what we're going to talk about in the index recovery comes from the CrowdStrike recovery. Because remember, CrowdStrike kind of crashed the index last quarter when we did this. It was right after the outage, and CrowdStrike's almost all but recovered from that event. So that's helped. Plus, I think we had a really strong November in general in the market. So that's obviously ticked up the index.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, looking at what's been going on, my question is cyber getting hot again? Are we heating up?
It's starting. Yeah. When we get into some of the numbers, you're going to see some interesting stuff, right? That it's starting. It's right at the cusp. It's definitely caught up because the NASDAQ closed at 19,218.17, up 189.64%. So that spread is shrinking. And the graphs I dropped into this segment show that. Like the index is getting closer to the NASDAQ now. And so that tells me that we're starting to get there, Jason, that cyber's starting to get hot again because it's catching back up to the NASDAQ.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the funding that we're seeing, I mean, I don't think we've seen this amount of funding since like Q1, what I was reading, Q1 of like 2022 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it was 144% increase.
I think there was a lot of pent up demand. I mean, I think, elections are done and people are thinking, feeling like the economy stabilized a little bit and it's on the road back. So I think, I'm really optimistic for start of the year and what's going to happen next year.
Yeah, and we in Black Hat was in this quarter of results. So you saw a bunch of funding rounds like right around Black Hat that kind of propelled that as well. You also see them around RSA conference also. So I think that's part of this, right? As we see that kind of infusion of cash at the two major events, which is RSA conference and then Black Hat in the fall. So you definitely see some of that. And we see it a little bit in the results, but the results were they're a little down. Like revenue beat was only 1.59%, which is down from last quarter. Profit beat was 16.52% on average. That's also down. It's way down actually. But here's a trend I started to pick up. We're seeing more and more positive earnings from this group. Remember, in the early days of this index, when companies went public, they were losing money. Outside of a couple in the index, what I'm starting to see is a build of trend of positive earnings out of this group of security vendors. And so profitability is obviously, remember, we went from a revenue at all costs to EBITDA and profitability, right? Now I'm starting to see that through the cyber companies on a more consistent basis, which is then bolstering up, I think, their stock performance.
I mean, Matt, this is all the stuff we talked about when we had Robert Herjavec on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just here, we're gonna talk later about some of the private companies, but what they were looking at is their growth, their annual recurring revenue, their customer growth, their net dollar retention, looking at the clients and making sure they had multi-product adoption across their portfolio. So yeah, they're looking deep. They're looking deep to make sure they're profitable, sustainable, and really have that strong financial position.
Yep, absolutely. Best performing stocks in the quarter, Fastly. Both CyberArk and Onespan are there again. So they've been performing very well, kind of beating their numbers on a consistent basis. Worst performing, Secureworks, which has been on this list multiple times, by the way.
For years.
For years. I've been doing this since 2018, guys. Like, Verint and Rubrik both, again, is worst performing. So Rubrik is one of the few that still has a negative earnings. So does Secureworks. Secureworks went negative this last quarter. Rubrik recently IPO'd, still working towards profitability. They're one of the exceptions in that profitability game. But you see Secureworks kind of go in and out of positive earnings at times. So it gets interesting with them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you see Tenable, QLYS, and Rapid7 in here, though. And like there's been talk about them being taken private again, right? Like there's been a lot of, I mean, look, I think we've heard that for a while, but like it felt like it got more serious in the last quarter. And so be interesting to see what happens there. Like those are three big companies in the space.
Yeah. I think all three of them have brought in advisors to see if they can get some PE funding, or like they're all looking, they're all sniffing around.
Yeah. Well, and so I read an article. Someone predicted that Thoma Bravo is going to buy a vuln management company and an external attack and simulation company. Now, Tenable already owns one, by the way. They bought one, right? They bought Jeremiah Grossman's Bit Discovery product and embedded it. So there's some rumors that Thoma Bravo is looking for a VM and an external attack surface management company. If that's the case, you either buy Tenable because you don't need the EASM because they already own it, or you look at QLYS or Rapid7. So originally, I was hearing rumors around Tenable and Rapid7 first, and then rumors started picking up around QLYS. Now, having worked for QLYS, you and I both kind of know this a little bit, Ben, right? Philippe was never interested in really selling. Like, he would have set his price so high. I don't know what Sumed's appetite is, but there has not traditionally been appetite for QLYS to be acquired. Don't know. It's interesting. Let's get back. Okay, average analyst ratings 1.71, which is moderate buy, same as last quarter. Some best rated, Gen Digital and Rubrik again. There's a lot of hype around Rubrik. Even though they're not performing well, they're still highly rated, which is really interesting to me. CyberArk, highly rated. Worst rated, Secureworks, again. Fastly's actually on that list, and QLYS is on that list. Yeah. Anyways, so there were some big layoff announcements in Q3 in general. Now, these aren't specific to cyber, but they're really interesting. This layoff trend has not stopped. So Intel announced a cut of over 15,000 jobs, and then their CEO stepped down today. They're struggling in the industry right now. And so this announcement is now followed by their CEO stepping down today, which I caught on the news feeds right before I jumped on the show. Dell was going to cut over 10,000 jobs. They do have some overlap in security. And then Cisco just said cutting thousands of jobs. Yeah. So you don't know which
and they have been. I mean, Cisco's done a couple rounds already. And I mean, at this point, you look at the last year or so, and I think I read there's been 130,000 jobs cut in the tech industry.
Yeah,
that's an insane amount of jobs being cut, and it spans like 457 different companies. I think is what I had read earlier. So, and it's not stopping. It's just it's continuing.
It'd be interesting to see where the analysis around where those jobs are being cut. Like, what is it AI displacement? Is it just trimming fat? Like, what's the right?
Well, one of the articles I read today, and I'm going to see if I can pull it into the show next week, maybe. Is an article headline I saw is middle management jobs are being cut and probably not being replaced. So I wonder if it's just cutting out a bunch of middle management jobs. I don't know, because I can't see it being the analysts, right? Like everybody's looking for security analysts. So I don't think it's there. I think it could be middle management being cut.
No, yeah, and I'm still seeing postings. I'm seeing a lot of stuff for kind of individual contributor, like high-end individual contributor roles that are out there, but you're not really hearing a lot. I did hear some from a couple of recruiters like Michael Piacente and other people, like just happen to be at the same conferences and stuff, like that it seems to be a little bit on the recovery. Still not hearing a lot of CISO activity, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that heads, and if that is true that the middle management's kind of being cut out and where that leads us.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, taking AI and using it as a tool. I just did a quick search, right? I did a quick search, and if Gemini works the way it should, it's coming back saying it's things like HR specialists, recruiters, sales, product engineering teams, recruiting departments, some software engineers. So those are the top hits, at least from what our AI friends are telling us.
That's what it's good for at times.
It's never going to tell you that AI is the problem. AI will never say that.
No, it'll hallucinate before it tells you it's the problem.
Exactly.
There was one other sale rumor around Trend Micro. So outside of the three main vuln management vendors, there was also some rumors around Trend Micro potentially being up for sale. That was an interesting one as well that came out.
That's so interesting. I just don't even see, like, Trend is one of those companies I just don't even hear or see out there doing stuff. So yeah, it surprises me.
Well, Sophos is kind of the other one, right? Like, but these two kind of fit in a similar category. They're kind of the older school endpoint detection.
Was down in Brazil, heard Kaspersky come up.
Wow.
Yeah, surprising.
Because it's Brazil, it's not the United States.
No.
They're probably a little friendlier towards Russia than we are.
100%. Yeah, BRICS countries, right? So
yeah. Yep. All right, let's switch over to private companies. So, Jason, as you said, some big cash infusions, and I think a number of these were right around Black Hat. Kiteworks, $456 million. Now, this is private equity investment. So let me tell you a story from about late 2015 into early 2016 when Insight Venture Partners decided to pump $285 million into Tenable, and I saw zero new stuff to spend it on. I think this is a buyout, folks. Okay.
Yeah, and they're one of the investment partners, right? It's Insight Partners and Sixth Street Growth. So now they had mentioned in an article that I read that this was a partial liquidity event. Does that mean upfront cash?
Well, no, what it means is, so it triggered a liquidity event for certain investors to be able to cash in their shares at this price. Right. So same thing kind of happened at Tenable when Insight came in. It did create a potential liquidity event. And what primarily happened was the majority shares from the original three founders were purchased in some sets of lots to take over majority shareholdership. And I think something very similar. The original founders probably got the ability to liquidate some or all of their shares. So what happens is a lot of stock changes hands, not a lot of new cash flows into the business. So that's why I flagged this one when I was going through it, because I'm like, look, I've been there. I've seen this before. And it's kind of an Insight. It's kind of a precursor to Insight, right? They come in, they want a big chunk of stock. They're going to buy out the founders. They're going to use that then to drive towards an IPO. That's kind of Insight's MO. So that's what this one looks like.
Yeah, instead of investment, right? I mean, they're investing, but it's not an investment in the company. The company's not getting cash flow to do anything with it. It's going to existing shareholders and
primarily. Yeah, exactly.
They're the ones that get to cash out a little bit.
Right. They get to take some money off the table, give up some of the equity, hopefully for growth towards an IPO. And look, in the case of Tenable, it worked out very well for the original founders and all of us that had shares. It was a very successful IPO. So look, they work, but it does allow them to make, and typically the other thing that happens here, just so everybody knows, is typically the CEO is gone and a new CEO is coming in. So you're going to go find somebody that's willing, that knows how to take a company to over 100 million in revenue and go public. So the next news I would expect around Kiteworks at some point is potentially appointment of a new CEO. Just saying. Yep. Cribble was a very interesting one. I know the Cribble people because we do a lot with Snowflake and their security data lake stuff. They're not a true security player, but they're a data movement company where they can move data into like the Snowflake data lake. That's a $319 million investment. That's a good size investment.
Yeah, and I mean they're the one that I was looking at, because this was led by Google Ventures, and it was their largest investment ever. And once I started digging deeper, I started looking at all of the growth that they were doing. Significant growth in ARR, significant growth in customer base. That net dollar retention growth was huge, right? The multi-product adoption was a piece for this, that they were looking at. And those were all of the key indicators that, made them want to invest. So all of the things we talked about, quite a while back with Mr. Herzvek are all meaning true still.
All coming home to roost.
That's it.
Yes. Let's see. Abnormal security, $250 million. I think they used some of that money to make some acquisitions. I think somewhere down here.
Their valuation was $5.1 billion.
I know, it's huge.
That stood out to me. I was like, holy crap.
I know. It's big. Vanta took another $150 million. They continue to grow. Now they're more of a pure SMB kind of security play.
Yeah.
But they still continue to grow. Cowbell took $60 million. I know the guys over at Cowbell, they're a cyber insurer. The one that I thought was really, really interesting in this group is Sola Security. Raised $28 million and has no idea what product he's going to build. I'm serious. It's in the release. Like, Sola Security is the name of the company, but yet they don't know what they're going to build, and they took $28 million.
Wow. That'll be interesting to keep an eyeball on.
Yeah, just a bit. And I had to throw Eclipsium on here. They were below my 20 million threshold, but Paul's there, and I'm like, they took 19.7. So
good deal.
Some interesting acquisitions.
You forgot Halcyon in there, man. Halcyon got $100 million.
Oh, I missed that one. Because I go through Adrian's articles.
Unicorn status, $1 billion.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Nice.
We were all pretty happy.
I bet you were. Makes that stock a little more valuable, doesn't it?
We hope, yeah.
It's what we all hope for at the end of the day. Let's see. So again, interesting acquisitions. Now, two by Mimecast, Code 42 and Aware. Now, Mimecast also bought Elevate Security. Code 42 comes in with some of the insider threat stuff. You see them doubling down on this concept of human risk management, where now they have some really interesting telemetry coming off the Code 42 endpoint to tie into that Elevate Security acquisition they did earlier this year. And then they marry that with Aware. They're making some interesting moves. And I'm wondering if, it's private equity backed. They've made some really interesting acquisitions. I could see them being one of the companies that gets spun back out public when the markets open up in 25. I could see that. I'm calling it here first.
One of the things that stood out to me is I saw Cisco, even though they're laying off, they made an acquisition, but isn't Robust Intelligence a vulnerability management company?
Oh, I haven't even heard of Robust.
Yeah.
I think they're Vol Management. Hold on. Let Google foo.
Google foo.
Yeah, detecting vulnerabilities, protecting AI applications.
Interesting.
On the AI side.
Yeah. All right.
There you go. And then the Recorded Future acquisition by MasterCard. So think about that, right? So they own, so they had, what is it? Risk Recon. Now they bring in Recorded Future. They're building a portfolio of security companies, which is really interesting. And I think what they're doing is they're offering them back some of these services and security capabilities back to their clients, their business clients. Yeah.
They're building out a portfolio to offer services.
They're doing a lot of investment in that space, and it does seem a bit strange to me. Like having the Visa side to my background,
right.
Like I'm not really sure I get it yet, but obviously they have a vision.
Yeah, because Ben, you worked at Visa. Like, you weren't thinking about building out security practices for your Visa clients, but MasterCard, that's appears to what they're doing.
No, there was internal, there was fraud detection, fraud prevention stuff, protecting customers, right? Eventual end clients. But yeah, we weren't building delivery services. Now, interestingly enough, everybody who worked at Visa in the tech side, at least, the company we actually worked for technically was a separate company that was set up to do like services, like back in the day. But yeah, they got away from that and didn't do that. So again,
using Google foo as we're speaking, their investment is shoring up their security capabilities to defend a global digital economy of the future. So are they moving toward crypto? Are they seeing something in the future for crypto on the crypto side? Prepping for that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's
right.
Maybe. Could be. I think crypto has legs with this next administration, right? We already know.
Yeah, that change happened. That sale.
And you see the fluctuations in Bitcoin. Like it was almost 100, then came down to 91. Now it's sitting around 95, 96 again. There's some big swings in crypto going on. So you never know.
Somewhere Sam Bankman-Fried is in his prison cell, knocking his couple on the thing, saying, "Pardon."
Yeah, right. Hey, listen, with the trend that's happening, hey.
You never know.
Yeah, he might want to go find his crypto wallet somewhere and figure out what all that is.
I'm sure it's there.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, I have one question for you. I don't know how much you're still doing with Fortinet guys, but that next DLP acquisition seemed a little interesting to me as well.
Yeah, totally. Again, trying to build out the breadth of the portfolio. You know what I mean? It's the ecosystem plays. Everybody's trying to get in the ecosystem play.
You know, it's weird that you mentioned DLP. It's weird how that hangs around, right? Like there are a lot of technologies that kind of they hit and then like everybody's like, oh, this isn't working. We can't do it. But it kind of hangs around and people are still trying to find a way to make it functionally work well. That's one of them. DLP. I'm just surprised we keep hearing about that and the investment that's being made in that space. I mean,
Yeah. In DSPM, data security posture management, is that the replacement for DLP? Like all these SPM solutions.
Change the name.
Yep.
Hey, listen, it's once you start letting marketing get involved, that's what happens.
Yeah, right. All right, gentlemen, that's a quick roundup for last quarter. Okta, welcome to the index. My fault, guys. It's been a long journey. We're going to take a quick break and then cover the leadership and communications articles for this week.